the past 24 hours, a new variant of the TSJ virus has emerged, putting European authorities in a very difficult situation. It's been confirmed that the mode of transmission is through blood contact.
In a world on the brink of collapse, where survival has become the only law left to obey, Apocalypse Z rises as a new age zombie thriller that redefines the meaning of horror, chaos, and human endurance. Set in a time when a mysterious viral outbreak turns people into ravenous, bloodthirsty creatures, the story follows the haunting journey of survivors struggling to hold onto their humanity while the world around them rots away. Every moment feels like a countdown to extinction, and in this decaying wasteland, even the living can be more dangerous than the dead. The film unfolds with the sudden emergence of a virus that spreads faster than wildfire. Cities once filled with laughter and light now echo with the screams of the infected, their twisted silhouettes haunting the streets. Governments crumble, military forces fall, and communication networks die one by one. Humanity becomes a whisper in the wind. Amid this madness, a small group of survivors rises ordinary people who never imagined they'd become soldiers in a war against death itself. Their only goal is to find a safe zone rumored to exist somewhere beyond the ruins, a place untouched by infection. But as they move deeper into the heart of the apocalypse, they realize that survival comes at a price none of them are ready to pay. At the center of the story is a man who once lived a normal life, a father, a husband, and a soldier. When the outbreak begins, he loses everything in an instant. His home burns, his family disappears, and his faith in humanity shatters. Yet somewhere deep inside, a spark of hope remains. He becomes the unlikely leader of the survivors, guiding them through abandoned cities, infested highways, and dark forests crawling with the undead. His past becomes both his strength and his curse as he battles not just monsters outside, but the ghosts that haunt his mind. The film's world-building is raw and immersive. Unlike the glossy apocalypse often shown in movies, Apocalypse Z captures a setting that feels painfully real: cracked streets, flickering streetlights, torn posters of missing people fluttering in the wind, and silence that feels heavier than any scream. Each scene is soaked with tension, making you feel the dread of being hunted, the exhaustion of constant fear, and the fragile hope that refuses to die. The sound design amplifies the terror. Distant growls echo through tunnels, footsteps crunch on shattered glass, and radiostatic whispers, fragments of humanity's final messages. One of the most gripping aspects of Apocalypse Z is how it dives into the psychology of survival. It's not just about killing zombies, it's about facing despair, betrayal, and moral decay. People change when the world ends. Friends become enemies, and enemies become unlikely allies. The survivors face impossible choices: who to save, who to trust, and what lines they are willing to cross to stay alive. The story blurs the line between right and wrong, showing that the real apocalypse isn't just outside, it's inside every heart that has lost hope. As the group travels through infected zones, they encounter different types of threats. The virus mutates, creating horrifying variations of the undead, faster, stronger, more intelligent. These new forms are terrifyingly unpredictable, capable of hunting in packs or mimicking human sounds to lure their prey. Each encounter pushes the survivors closer to their breaking point. The film doesn't rely only on jump scares. It builds dread through quiet moments, when a flicker of movement in the shadows or the faint echo of a growl is enough to freeze your blood. There's also a deeply emotional side to the story. Every survivor carries memories of what they've lost: photos of loved ones, old voice messages, personal objects that keep them connected to the world before. These small details make their fight meaningful. When they find an abandoned school filled with children's drawings, the silence speaks louder than any scream. When they discover a family that chose to die together rather than become infected, the reality of their world hits harder than any explosion. Apocalypse Z stands out for its intense performances and practical effects that bring the horror to life. The makeup on the infected is disturbingly detailed rotting flesh, pale eyes, and movements that feel both human and unnatural. Every zombie feels like a remnant of a lost soul, making the terror more personal. The survivors' exhaustion, fear, and emotional breakdowns feel raw and genuine, making their victories, no matter how small, incredibly powerful. As the story progresses, the film shifts from survival to revelation. The survivors uncover clues about the origins of the virus, hints that suggest it wasn't a natural outbreak, but the result of human greed and scientific manipulation gone wrong. The deeper they dig, the clearer it becomes that the apocalypse wasn't just an accident, it was created. This adds a layer of conspiracy and tragedy to the horror, turning the undead into symbols of humanity's own destruction. In its final act, Apocalypse Z explodes with tension and emotion. The survivors reach what they believe to be the safe zone, only to find it overrun by chaos. The final battle is brutal, filled with desperation and sacrifice. One by one, the group falls, each death hitting with emotional weight. The leader faces the ultimate decision to save himself or ensure the survival of one last innocent life. The ending leaves viewers breathless, torn between heartbreak and hope, questioning whether humanity deserves a second chance at all. The film's visual tone captures the decay of civilization in haunting beauty. Rusted cars line the streets like tombstones. Buildings collapse under their own emptiness, and nature slowly reclaims what mankind destroyed. Fire and rain become symbols, destruction and rebirth. The cinematography uses dark hues, flickering lights, and wide shots to make the audience feel both trapped and alone. Every frame tells a story of a world that once was and the faint, flickering light of what might still be saved. Beyond the horror, Apocalypse Z carries a powerful message about the human spirit. It's not just a zombie movie, it's a reflection on survival, sacrifice, and redemption. It asks what it means to stay human when everything that defines humanity has vanished. It shows that even when the world ends, love, loyalty, and courage can still exist. It's a reminder that hope can survive even when surrounded by death. The movie's emotional intensity and suspense make it stand alongside some of the greatest entries in the apocalypse genre.
Yet, it remains unique in its realism and character depth.
The story feels personal, not just about a world ending, but about the people trying to live within that ending. Each survivor's journey represents a piece of humanity's collective struggle to endure, to remember, and to rebuild. As the credits roll, the silence that follows feels heavy. You're left with more than fear, you're left with questions. What would you do if everything fell apart? Would you fight for survival or surrender to despair? Would you help others or protect only yourself? Apocalypse Z doesn't just entertain, it confronts. It forces the viewer to see the thin line between life and death, between civilization and chaos. In the end, it's not just a film about zombies. It's a story about us, about the choices we make when there's nothing left to lose. It's about humanity's endless fight against extinction and the belief that even in the darkest hour, the will to live will always burn brighter than the flames of destruction. Apocalypse Z isn't just the end of the world, it's the beginning of what it truly means to be human.